When I first came to Mexico in 1987, I was with a youth team, and I saw all this poverty. I saw how people were living. Really, poverty often is a lack of options.
I lived part of my life with my grandmother in Tijuana. My parents decided to buy a piece of land, so we lived in a tent while my parents could buy lumber. During that time, my mother was working so hard. She made lots of sacrifices. She was always making things to sell.
Fortunately, I was able to stay in a YWAM after-school program.
You see the work ethic, the saving, using old materials in a really wise way, cobbling together a life, and you realize, wow, these people are amazing.
My greatest need growing up was to have a place where my parents were in peace. When we lived in a tent, I could see my mother wasn't at peace.
I heard YWAM started a program in the community.
When we saw others in the community getting homes and they told us we might qualify for a home, my mother couldn't believe it. But my neighbors and the Homes of Hope staff convinced her it was real, and we applied. I could see joy in my parents' faces as they watched the home being built.
As I look at Ever's story, I get super excited. He's in elementary school, he's living in a little shack with a dirt floor, and then he gets a Home of Hope, ends up doing one of our missionary training schools, and now he's been on our staff for many years. So it's just incredible to see all of these little choices and how it's not only impacted Ever, but his family and his whole community.
I work in the workshop building windows for the homes. I feel called to serve the nations. Now I'm being helpful with building homes for others.
I love being a part of YWAM because we get to give hope to the nations. We get to call the nations to say, you could be a part of the Great Commission. We get to serve the nations, the least, the lost, the poor. Jesus was a servant leader, and he's our model. That's what we pattern everything we do off of Christ and his servant leadership. And he said, if you want to be great in my kingdom, be a servant. We get to transform the nations through discipleship. That's what Jesus talked about. He did life-on-life discipleship, and these fishermen who were uneducated, ordinary men, they changed the world and turned it upside down.
No one could imagine that a young man from my community could go and bring hope to the nations. But I thank God I can do that. I can bring hope to my community and all of Mexico.
He started out as someone who we were trying to help. Now he's the one that's the helper. He's the one that's the world changer. And if we could photocopy another 50 of Evers, we could change the whole freaking world. For me, I feel like Ever and his story is actually the fountainhead of joy that my wife and I carry as founders of this ministry. Because we came to Mexico, thinking you're going to show some compassion to some poor people, and you find out God's purposes, God's intentions were far bigger than I could ever have imagined. So I used to see the poor, but now I see an army.